The number one reason product messages don't drive buyer decision is because it is written to earn internal agreement and not trigger buyer action. And that is why your product messages can sound clear, credible, and complete, yet buyers still don't know what your product does and don't act. 80% of B2B SaaS product messages are written for internal stakeholders first. This creates a credibility gap when customers encounter it, and the majority of these messages get watered down during review cycle, losing the sharp customer-facing angle. The good news is this is fixable with a simple reframe. State the benefit. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to turn internally saved messages into something that actually moves the buyers to a decision. All this without investing in a time-consuming and exhaustive messaging project. Now, most product marketing team operates with the belief that if they explain what their product does clearly, buyers will get it. Now, that is true most often than not, especially if you have a brand presence in the market. So they write product messages that tries to cover almost everything. Platform, features, integration, use case, buyer pain, you name it. Now on paper it looks complete and it often gets approved internally. But buying decisions happens in layers, and most product marketing managers rely on only one layer, the what layer. Let me explain what does it mean. They focus on what their product does. Product messages built on the what layer highlights the capabilities through the various features of the product. It is the natural default, and such product messages get quick internal validation. However, the layer that matters more is the why layer. Why should the buyer care about your product? Now, this is the layer your buyers are most interested in, and this is the one that gets ignored in product messages more often than not. That is the gap. Now, I have sat in hundreds of product messaging strategy sessions, audited countless product messages, and seen this challenge firsthand. So I'm going to share a 3-step process to craft a product message that not only aligns with your internal stakeholders but also resonates with your customer. Now, step 2 is super critical, as this is where most product messages fail to deliver. Now, this is the stage where you shift the focus from what to why. So let's break it down. The first step is to take your internal product message and define the what elements. Now, your internal product message most often than not addresses what you build, the product, its features, and what its capabilities are. To illustrate what we are going to do next, I'm going to take the example of Monday.com. Imagine you're describing Monday.com internally. It's very easy. It's a work platform that teams use to plan and track work and run their workflows. It is built around boards. It gives users different views like timeline, Kanban boards, and calendars. It basically automates your repetitive steps and connects to other tools through integration. Now notice what I'm trying to do here. This is how most of the internal product messages are described. This is your product description basically. It is accurate, it is logical, and it talks about the capability through the features. Now if you build your product message on this layer, this is how it's going to look. Monday.com is a productivity tool that provides teams with boards, automation, and integration to manage work. Now this explains what Monday.com does, and this is the kind of messages which most internal stakeholders love. But internal approval is not buyer action. So let's shift the lens to the user. You see, buyers think differently. They don't start with features and often not with your capabilities because they can't make out how this translates into benefit. Now, if your product message stops at the what layer, buyers won't connect the dots for you and they'll move on. Because for them, the buyer decision starts with the why layer. Buyers want to understand why this product should matter to them and why now. And if they are already using an alternative, they want to know why it is worth changing anything. Hence, there is a need for the bridge. Now, bridge is the process where you shift the lens to the buyer's why. To achieve this, you can apply the so what test. It's a simple process of asking so what a number of times to arrive at a logical outcome. Each so what peels back one layer of internal jargons and gets your product message closer to what the buyer actually cares about. So here's how the process works. Start with your internal message and pressure test it from the buyer's perspective. Let's revisit the internal message we created for Monday.com. Monday.com is a productivity platform that provides team with boards, automation, and integration to manage work. Now shift the lens to the user. Hit the first so what. Now this is the first objection. For this so what, explain the immediate meaning of what your product does. So let's take the example of Monday.com and translate what the product message means. It means all your tasks, owners, deadlines, and updates live in one place instead of being spread across docs, chats, and spreadsheets. Now this brings us to the next objection. Next so what? Now the objection is on the immediate meaning we shared about our product. So go deeper and explain the practical benefit. This is layer 2. So if you take Monday.com again, this is how you can explain the practical benefit. It means work doesn't get lost in handoffs. People don't chase updates all day and everyone can see what's moving and what's stuck without constant status meetings. Now this brings us to the next objection, the third so what. So go further deeper and explain the outcome aligned to the practical benefit. Now here is how you can say it. It means teams are better organized, they are able to manage projects and coordinate smoothly and efficiently without any gaps or surprise. Now with this exercise, you can frame the product message to address it from the customer's lens. Here is how you can frame it. Monday.com helps team manage and coordinate work by keeping tasks, owners and updates in one place. So teams are better organized and efficient and complete projects with fewer surprises. Now this is the bridge. I moved the product message from addressing the what to why. 3 questions, 1 transformation. Now here's the rule of thumb. You don't always need 3 so what steps. Stop asking so what when the answer becomes a defined outcome that the buyer really cares about. It could be a time saving, a risk reduction, a process improvement, a financial benefit, or a decision level outcome that is critical to the buyer. This means you've reached the buyer's why. Alright, so far we have covered 2 steps. First, define the what layer, your product's capability through features. Second, bridge it to the why using the so what test. Now, step 2 is where most marketers are happy with their product message. After all, their message is now leaning towards a buyer persona, so they consider their message to be complete. But this is where most product messages completely fall apart. Now, to push your buyers to a decision, you need to master step 3. This is where you gain the edge. Now, step 3 is all about how you anchor your product message to one buyer decision. Buying psychology shows that buying decisions are based on sequence of small decisions. Buyers translate these into questions like, is my problem urgent enough to care about it right now? Is this product credible and safe enough for me to trust and try? Why is it better than the alternative? Now, most product messages fail because it tries to answer multiple concerns at once. As a result, it does justice to none, it becomes noisy, and the buyer fails to make a decision. Your job is to answer one question that matters the most right now for the buyer. So how do you do this? Pick the most critical buyer concern that your product can solve. Then focus your message on this one concern to drive your buyer to a decision. Let's say when you pitch the product, the buyer's objection is, why should I care right now? I'm happy with my process. Everything is going smooth. Why should I care? Now the buyers might feel they are doing fine with their current process. They might not feel the need for a productivity tool or simply be oblivion to the seriousness of their problem or the urgency of the need. But you know what your product does for the buyer. It saves them productivity costs due to wasted time and inefficiencies in their current process. So now you anchor your product message on the urgency over this hidden problem. Here is how you can do it. Let's go back to step 2, the foundational message we created focused on a buyer persona. Here's the message that we created. Monday.com helps team manage and coordinate work by keeping tasks, owners, and updates in one place. So teams are better organized and efficient and complete projects with fewer surprises. Now this is what we created in step 2. Now deconstruct what is missing that addresses the why care now aspect. Now the pain is already addressed. Disorganized and distributed work, lack of coordination. Similarly, the new capability is also there. Tasks, owners, updates in one place. We've also talked about the outcome, better coordination, efficient product management, and fewer surprises. Now, step 2 message is all good. It addresses the pain and the new capability offered. What step 2 message does not explicitly do is make the cost of not fixing the pain feel immediate, which is what the buyer is facing every day, every week now. The urgency hook or the angle is missing. So let's insert this angle to make the problem urgent for the buyer and address why care now. Make the cost of not fixing the problem super urgent through your product message. Here is how the urgency looks like now. When work is spread across docs, chats, spreadsheets, teams lose hours every week just coordinating and managing updates. This results in missed deadlines and often without timely intervention. So now we have defined the cost of not fixing the problem, the loss of hours every week. Now this is how the final outcome looks when you insert the urgency angle into your product message. When work is spread across docs, chats, spreadsheet, teams lose hours every week just coordinating updates. This results in missed deadline, often without timely intervention. Now, Monday.com keeps task owners' updates in one place so projects finish on time with fewer surprises. Now notice what I did here. I didn't add more features. I didn't expand the description. I picked one buyer concern and restructured the product message to make it feel critical to take action immediately. One concern, one decision, that's the anchor. Now there you go. This is a system you can use to translate your internal message into something that really resonates with your users. Now to recap what we did here, start with the internal message and the what layer, define your product's capability through the features, then bridge it to buyer's lens using the so what test, and finally anchor the final message to one buyer decision or objection. Pick the concern that matters most and make it feel very urgent. If you do this, your message stops sounding like a description. It starts sounding like a reason to act. Alright, so this is it for the week. If you like this video, press the subscribe button, like and share this video, and I'll see you in the next video.